We are continuing from the KCK Police Department on 95.7 FM KCMO. It's tour stop number 6 of our Back the Blue tour, and we are happy to have on the director of the Police Athletic League. Matt Tomasic is on KCMO. Matt, good morning.
Good morning, Pete. How you doing?
I am doing great. Hey, take me through just an overview of the Police Athletic League here in KCK. You started this thing when you came over from KCMO. You were there for 23 years. You came over here about, 6 years ago now? And
yes.
You got this program started 5 years ago. Give us the broad overview of the Police Athletic League.
Well, the idea is that it's police officers making relationships with the youth in our community, the youth and their parents. So we use education and athletics to do that. So we have three police officers whose only job it is they don't go to court, they don't write tickets. Their job is to interact and program for and with the kids. So as with the police department of 300, that is, and Chief Oakman has made an enormous contribution. That tells you that how important relationships are to the chief to have 3 officers committed to this.
So let's talk about some of the things that you've been working on. I know driver's ed is one of them. We'll get to that here coming up. Gun safety. I mean, the reality is there are more guns than there are people in this country. No one's changing that. There's not a politician that's going to change that. So I know for you guys, the approach has been more of a let's live in the world we live in, and let's try to be realistic about the world we live in and try to give people the tools they need to understand what they're working with and what they're dealing with here. And that includes gun safety for pretty young kids here in the community, right?
Yeah. So we have 1,200 kids that are members of the POW, and the age to participate is 8 to 18. So we want to be practical. We want to be realistic. The majority of our kids, particularly our teenage kids, have encountered firearms, or they know someone who's been shot or someone who shot themselves. So our approach to this is let's educate. Right? Guns are everywhere. Dads aren't. We can't do anything about our dysfunctional, government. We can't do anything about the number of guns that are out there, but we want to educate. So 2 of the officers went through the state and got certified in marksmanship. So through the state of Kansas wildlife marksmanship program. So using essentially BB guns, we have put a small range in the basement of our facility, and we kids learn basic gun safety, but what they're really learning is how deadly and final and irreversible guns are.
Wow. Now, we were talking about this off the air, and you alluded to it, and I thought it was an interesting point. Think about the Super Bowl rally. I mean, did those kids even understand the power of the weapons that they had on them with these guns at the parade and how much danger they were putting thousands of people in, right?
I am certain that their knowledge about guns came from video games, because if they had any basic knowledge of how a gun functioned, they would never have brought an assault weapon. If they brought them to protect themselves or to do evil, if they would have known, they would have never chosen that.
And how many of these kids, and you would know better than me, who are carrying these weapons, don't even understand the power of what they're carrying. They just get it handed to them by somebody, right?
I will say this: I think that Chief Oakman and KCK is doing an exceptional job with their fentanyl awareness program. Mm-hmm. So we look at that fentanyl and we don't say, let's not people about how deadly this drug is. We say, let's educate them. That's what we're doing with this program.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. We don't hide from the deadliness of fentanyl. We shouldn't hide from how deadly guns can be when used the wrong way.
Chief Oakman said many times that he feels that the majority of people in prison for gun crimes have never know nothing about safe handling of firearms.
Yeah. That's a good point. Matt Tomasic, director of the Police Athletic League here in KCK, is on KCMO. So what about driver's ed? I know that it's not something that's in the schools anymore, and I hadn't thought about it, but it makes sense if you are in a lower socioeconomic income bracket. Maybe your parents don't drive. Where's the money coming from to pay for driver's ed? So what are you doing to combat that, to get these kids, abilities to drive and get jobs?
Well, at the POW, we run, depending on the time of year, about 14 different programs, right? We have a very robust garden, and I love the garden because the garden teaches, I think, one of the most important life skills, which is delayed gratification, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Put a seed in the ground, maybe you get a tomato. After you get those tomatoes, the kids learn how to can them so they can eat them in December and January, and we have 4 art classes a week, and we have a lot going on. But this was probably 3.5 years ago. We're having our fitness boxing. There's 80 kids in the gym, and PJ Locke, one of the police officers that work there, he's the best. We overhear a group of teenage boys talking, and one said, I hear him say, I had court today. He's telling his buddy. And I said, what'd you have court for? And he said, I was driving without a license. I thought, why don't you have a license? And then we went around to probably, I'm not exaggerating, probably 15 of the teenage kids, boys and girls, who drive to the POW every night, right? Every night. Not one of them had a driver's license.
So they're breaking the law to come to hang out with you guys, which is a good cause.
So we said, there's got to be more to this, right? So we started looking into it, and what I didn't know, but I found out, was that free driver's ed was eliminated from high school back in the 90s. And when they did that, they didn't think, what are the poor kids going to do? Because what they're going to do is drive. Like for my 3 kids, I paid the $500 to send them to driving school. Many of our families, that's an impossibility. That's an extravagance that they just can't afford. So we did a survey. We did a 10-question Google survey, and the officers went to Wyandotte, Ward, Harmon, and Schlegel High School. And we got a bag of lollipops and a QR code at lunchtime. Scan this QR code, take this survey, we'll give you a lollipop. Not official. But we got 511 kids from our urban schools, and then the officers went to Piper, got 498. It's a fascinating survey. It's on our website. 25% of the kids from our urban schools, 125 of our 511 kids, live in a house without a licensed driver. How, as a society, can we expect that a child that lives in a house without a licensed driver would ever be able to navigate that driver's license process? To me, I am a person who says your actions have consequences. But I think as a society, it's unjust or at least unfair to assume that all children would be able to navigate that driver's license process. So what we did was we sent one of our police officers. We opened up a commercial driving school. Like everything else at the POW, it's free. So the officers did the 60 hours of community service. The chief gave us an old beat up, well, I shouldn't say beat up, but he gave us a decommissioned detective car. That's a better word. Yeah. And we put stickers on the side, and we did the whole thing, just like Johnny Rowland's driver school. We had to do everything. So, so far, we're approaching 300 kids that have received their driver's license for free at the POW. Now, of those 300 kids, 280 of them wouldn't have a driver's license if it wasn't for the POW, which makes us all safer.
Yeah.
And to participate in the program, so one of the tenets of the POW is everything's free, but nothing's free, right? You have to earn things. So each child has to do 30 hours of community service before they're allowed to go to the class. And that usually takes them between a month and two months. But for many of the children, during that time, the officers are helping them secure the proper documents, because a lot of our kids, maybe their parents don't, or parent doesn't have the birth certificate. So we're working with the schools, we're working with the state, the kids. Another benefit, a secondary benefit, is these kids are making relationships with these police officers.
Oh, it's amazing.
And we're talking about, here's what you do if you get pulled over. Here's what you do if you think your rights are being violated. Here's what you don't do. You don't jump out of your car carrying your cell phone, right? Here's the process, if you feel. And ultimately, like all our programs at the POW, I feel that in 5 years, our biggest measurable is going to be how many of our kids come back and serve our community as police officers, as firefighters, as nurses, only because the officers put that idea.
Yeah, you're playing the long-term game, no doubt about it. Matt Tomasic, director of the Police Athletic League in KCK on KCMO. All right, you guys have your Police Athletic League Fest, the PAL Fest, Saturday, October 12th, 6 p.m. at the Sporting KC Stadium. The info is at palkck.org, right?
Yeah.
palkck.org.
Absolutely. It's a great way to support our organization. Although we are the Police Athletic League, we aren't funded. We're funded through donations and grants. So that's a great opportunity, a great way to support the good work we're doing.
Well, Matt, keep up the great work on your end, and we appreciate you being here on KCMO.
Thank you.
All right, Matt Tomasic on 95.7 FM, the director of the Police Athletic League.